South Africa's Minister of Finance, Enoch Godongwana, is delivering opening remarks at the G20 Sherpas Meeting in Johannesburg. Let's listen in.
Hosted under the South African presidency. There is an African proverb that reads, and I quote, "If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together." Close quote. The lesson from this proverb is captured in the theme of South Africa's G20 presidency. Quote, solidarity, equality, and sustainability, close quote. Through our presidency, we will seek to strengthen and advance our common pursuit of sustainable development goals and the Pact for the Future. We intend to use our presidency to advance an African agenda. To further this agenda and ensure that we strengthen the manner in which the G20 respond to the social and economic needs of our continent, we intend to establish a G20 African expert panel to support the G20 finance track. The G20 African expert panel will be composed of leading African economic development and finance experts from the public sector, think tanks, academia, and international financial institutions. One of these areas we will request the G20 African expert panel to advise on is how we can ensure that the various African initiatives, including the Compact for Africa, can be strengthened to the benefit of the continent. Let me just pause a bit here. We've had a discussion with our colleagues in the Sherpa track. We've had the discussion about what they call the cost of capital. In the light of that discussion, we have agreed amongst ourselves that's the work that we need to do jointly with a more emphasis on the finance track side. Part of this work will find a way of integrating that work into this panel. As we come to the end of the current cycle of the G20 presidencies, we reflect on the achievement from the previous G20 presidencies and ensure that we improve the manner in which the G20 does its work. It is within this spirit that South Africa has also proposed a stocktake of the G20 finance track to ensure that the G20 remains agile, responsive, and fit for purpose. G20 leaders stated at the Rio Summit last month that they will accelerate the reform of the international financial architecture so that it can meet the urgent challenges of sustainable development, climate change, and efforts to eradicate poverty. The G20 roadmap towards better, bigger, and more efficient MDBs was a milestone achievement under the Brazilian presidency. Now we focus to implementation and monitoring of that program. The discussions under South Africa's G20 presidency will take place alongside the 5th Finance in Common Summit, which is called FIX, that will take place at the Cape Town International Convention Center in South Africa from the 26th to 28th, as well as the 4th International Conference on Finance for Development in Spain in June 2025. Both these events provide a critical opportunity for countries to commit to closing the development financing gap and invest in the SDGs. We will also keep our focus on enhancing debt sustainability, including through improving the implementation of the common framework. We are aware that there are countries whose debt is sustainable, but which are facing acute liquidity challenges. which, if not addressed, could result in solvency challenges. These challenges necessitate a comprehensive approach towards debt sustainability, which means there's no one-size-fits-all approach. It also forces us to acknowledge that the debt sustainability cannot be solved through the common framework alone, but must be solved through a focus on putting in place the measures for countries to make their right investment and undertake appropriate reforms to support sustainable and inclusive economic growth. In our efforts to scale up finance, we cannot omit the important role of private sector finance. Indeed, G20 engagement with the private sector remains critical if we are to achieve many of the goals we've set for ourselves. South Africa's G20 presidency will continue to work with business and other stakeholders in order to unlock global economic full potential. Let me conclude by stating the global challenges ahead are formidable, but the G20 has the will, capacity, and determination to address them. In 2025, let us execute our work program with urgency, ambition, and confidence. Let us work together to ensure strong, sustainable, balanced, and inclusive growth. And through the G20 presidency for 2025, and propelled by your support, let us go even further as the G20 by going together. I'm sure you will have productive sessions. I'm looking forward to seeing some of you again in February for the first G20 finance ministers and central banks meeting in Cape Town. I thank you.